Students. Today we will study the external and internal features of midbrain. So midbrain, as you can see here, this is the part of the brain which connects the pons and the cerebellum with the forebrain. Its long axis inclines interiorly as it ascends through the opening in the tentorium cerebelli. The midbrain is traversed by a narrow channel. This is the narrow channel known as cerebral aqueduct, which is filled with cerebrospinal fluid. The interior surface of the midbrain. Now, interior surface of the midbrain shows a depression in the midline. This is known as interpeduncular fossa. As you can see here, interpeduncular fossa. Bounding this fossa are the cerebral peduncles. The substance of the floor of the interpeduncular fossa is perforated by the branches of the arteries. This is known as posterior perforated substance. Oculomotor nerve emerge in the interpeduncular fossa from the interpeduncular fossa anteriorly and runs laterally. The trochlear nerve is lying on the crus cerebri coming from behind. Now the posterior surface of the midbrain, on the posterior surface are the four colliculi or corpora quadri gemina. These are the rounded eminence that are divided into superior and inferior pairs by a vertical and a transverse groove. So these are the rounded eminences that are divided into superior and inferior pairs. The superior colliculi are the centers for visual reflexes, and the inferior colliculi are lower auditory centers. The superior colliculi are related to the visual centers, while the inferior colliculi are related to the auditory centers. In the midline below the inferior colliculi, the trochlear nerve emerge. These are small diameter nerves that wind round the lateral aspect of the midbrain to enter the lateral wall of cavernous sinus. So you can see here, these are the fibers of the trochlear nerve coming from the posterior surface of the midbrain. This is the only cranial nerve which emerged from the posterior surface of the brain. You can see the thin fibers, they are winding round and going anteriorly. On the lateral aspect of the midbrain, the superior and inferior brachia ascend in an anterolateral direction. The superior brachium passes from the superior colliculus to the lateral geniculate body. Now superior brachium passes to the lateral geniculate body here, and the inferior brachium, it connects the inferior colliculus to the medial geniculate body. Inferior brachium, it connects the inferior geniculate body to the medial geniculate body. Internal structure of the midbrain. Now the midbrain comprises two lateral halves called the cerebral peduncles. On each of these is divided into an anterior part, the crus cerebri, and the posterior part, the tegmentum, by the pigmented band of gray matter the substantia nigra. So here you can see this is the anterior part, the crus cerebri, and this is the posterior part, the tegmentum. And this is divided by the substantia nigra. This is the pigmented gray matter. This is the pigmented gray matter which is dividing the cerebral peduncle of the midbrain into two parts. Anteriorly lie the crus cerebri and posteriorly lie the tegmentum. The narrow cavity of the midbrain is the cerebral aqueduct. You can see here cerebral aqueduct which connects the third and fourth ventricle. The tectum is the part of midbrain that lies posterior to the cerebral aqueduct. Now this is the tectum. The part anterior to the cerebral aqueduct and posterior to the substantia nigra is the tegmentum, while the part posterior to the this cerebral aqueduct is the tectum, which connects the now the tectum is the part of the midbrain posterior to the cerebral aqueduct. Now this tectum part has got four swellings which are referred to as the two superior ones and two inferior ones, known as superior colliculi and inferior colliculi. The cerebral aqueduct is lined by ependyma and is surrounded by central gray matter. Here you can see this is the central gray matter. On transverse section of the midbrain, the interpeduncular fossa can be seen to separate the crus cerebri, whereas the tegmentum is continuous across the median plane. So this is the interpeduncular fossa here, which is separating the crus cerebri. So the midbrain is studied at two levels. First, at the transverse section at the level of the inferior colliculus. Now the inferior colliculus consists of large nucleus of gray matter, lies beneath the corresponding surface elevation and forms part of auditory pathway. So these are the inferior colliculi, two inferior colliculi. It receives many of the terminal fibers of the lateral lemniscus. So it receives fibers from the lateral lemnisci. The pathway then continues through the inferior brachium to the medial geniculate body, as I have shown you before. So the inferior brachium to the medial geniculate body. So terminal fibers of lateral lemniscus, they go into the inferior colliculus, and then they go into the inferior brachium to the medial geniculate body. The trochlear nucleus is situated in the central gray matter close to the median plane, just posterior to the medial longitudinal fasciculus. So this is the trochlear nerve nucleus. Here you can see here in the central gray matter anteriorly, just posterior to the medial longitudinal fasciculus. The emerging fibers of the trochlear nucleus pass laterally and posteriorly around the central gray matter and leave the midbrain just below the inferior colliculus. Here you can see the fibers, they are emerging and going back and then crossing towards the opposite side and emerging from the posterior surface of the midbrain. The fibers of the trochlear nerve now decussate completely in the superior medullary velum. The mesencephalic nuclei of trigeminal nerve are lateral to the cerebral aqueduct. So this is the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, lateral to the cerebral aqueduct. These were the nuclei of trochlear nerve, and this is the mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve, located laterally to the cerebral aqueduct. The decursation of the superior cerebellar peduncles occupies the central part of the tegmentum anterior to the cerebral aqueduct. Now here, anterior to the cerebral aqueduct, the decursating fibers of the superior cerebellar peduncles occupies the central part of the tegmentum. This one. The reticular formation is smaller than that of the pons and is situated lateral to the decursation. So this is the reticular formation of the midbrain area, and this is locating laterally to the superior cerebral peduncle decursation. The medial lemniscus ascends posterior to the substantia nigra. The spinal and trigeminal lemniscus are situated lateral to the medial lemniscus. Here you can see this is the medial lemniscus, then the trigeminal, then the spinal, and then in the last is the most dorsal is the lateral lemniscus located posterior to the trigeminal lemniscus. The substantia nigra is a large motor nucleus situated between the tegmentum and the crus cerebri and is found throughout the midbrain. The substantia nigra, this one. The nucleus is composed of medium-sized multipolar neurons that possess inclusion granules of melanin pigment within their cytoplasm. The substantia nigra is concerned with muscle tone and is connected to the cerebral cortex, spinal cord, hypothalamus, and basal nuclei. So the substantia nigra have got connections with the cerebral cortex, spinal cord, hypothalamus, and basal nuclei. The crus cerebri, the anterior part, the crus cerebri, it contains important descending tracts and is separated from the tegmentum by the substantia nigra. The corticospinal and corticonuclear fibers occupy the middle two-thirds of the crus. Corticospinal and corticonuclear fibers, they occupy the middle part of the crus cerebri. The corticospinal and the frontopontine fibers occupy the medial part of the crus, medial part of the crus. And the temporopontine fibers occupy the lateral part of the crus. These descending tracts connect the cerebral cortex to the anterior gray column cells of the spinal cord, the cranial nerve nuclei, the pons, and the cerebellum. So other descending tracts are the tectospinal tract and the tectospinal tract and rubrospinal tract. They are lying anterior and posterior to the decursation of the superior cerebellar peduncle. Now the transverse section of midbrain at the level of superior colliculus. So the superior colliculus is a large nucleus of grey matter that lies beneath the corresponding surface elevation, forms part of the visual reflexes. This is the superior colliculus. It is connected to the lateral geniculate body by the superior brachium. It receives afferent fibers from the optic nerve, the visual cortex, and the spinotectal tracts. The efferent fibers form the tectospinal and tectoburbal tracts, which are probably responsible for reflex movements of the eyes, head, and neck in response to the visual stimuli. The afferent pathway for the light reflex ends in the pretectal nucleus. Now, pretectal nucleus here, which lies lateral to the inferior to the superior colliculus. This is a small group of nuclei This is a small group of nuclei, neurons, situated close to the lateral part of the superior colliculus. After relaying in the pretectal nucleus, the fibers pass to the parasympathetic nucleus of the oculomotor nerve, that is Edinger-Westphal nucleus. This is the Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Edinger-Westphal nucleus. So fibers from the pretectal nucleus, they pass to the nucleus, this one, Edinger-Westphal nucleus of the oculomotor nerve. The oculomotor nucleus is situated in the central gray matter close to the median plane, just posterior to the medial longitudinal fasciculus. Here, the fibers of the oculomotor nucleus pass anteriorly through the red nucleus to emerge on the medial side of the crest cerebri in the interpeduncular fossa. Here you can see the fibers. They are emerging from the red nucleus into the interpeduncular fossa on the anterior surface of the midbrain. The nucleus of the oculomotor nerve is divisible into a number of cell groups. Now the medial, spinal and trigeminal lemnisci form a curved band posterior to the substantia nigra, but the lateral lemniscus does not extend superiorly to this level. Here you can see the medial lemniscus, the trigeminal lemniscus, the spinal lemniscus, but not the lateral lemnisci. The red nucleus is rounded mass of grey matter situated between the cerebral aqueduct and the substantia nigra. Cerebral aqueduct and the substantia nigra. So these are the red nuclei. Its reddish hue seen in fresh specimens is due to its vascularity and the presence of iron-containing pigment in the cytoplasm of many of its neurons. Afferent fibers reach the red nucleus from the cerebral cortex through the corticospinal fibers, the cerebellum through the superior cerebellar peduncle, the lentiform nucleus, the subthalamic and hypothalamic nuclei, substantia nigra and spinal cord. Efferent fibers leave the red nucleus and pass to the spinal cord through the rubrospinal tract as the tract descends it decursates. The reticular formation through the rubroreticular tract, the thalamus and the substantia nigra. Now the reticular formation is situated in the tegmentum lateral and posterior to the red nucleus. This is the reticular formation, and the crus cerebri contains the identical important descending tracts, the corticospinal, the corticonuclear, the corticopontine fibers that are present at the level of the inferior colliculus. So what is medial longitudinal fasciculus? It runs in the brainstem in the paramedian region. You know, it is running from the medulla pons and then in the midbrain. Fibers, they arise mainly from the vestibular nuclei. So fibers of the medial longitudinal fasciculus, they arise from the vestibular nuclei and then interconnects nuclei of third, fourth, sixth, eighth and 11th spinal nerve. Function of medial longitudinal fasciculus is to coordinate movements of eyes, head and neck in response to stimulus to the vestibulocochlear nerve. So here you can see that this is the vestibular nuclei, various vestibular nuclei, superior, lateral, medial, inferior, and fibers from here are arising and going towards the abducent nucleus, trochlear nucleus, oculomotor nucleus, and to the spinal nucleus of accessory nerve. So this is the medial longitudinal fasciculus. So the arterial supply of the midbrain is supplied mainly by branches of the basilar artery. These are the posterior cerebral artery and the superior cerebellar artery. and some direct branches from the basilar artery also supplies the midbrain. Branches are also received from the posterior communicating and anterior choroidal arteries. Branches arising from these vessels may either be paramedian, which supply parts near the midline, or circumferential, which wind round the midbrain to supply the lateral and dorsal parts. One of the lateral arteries is called the quadrigeminal artery. It is the main source of blood supply to the colliculi. The blood supply of the midbrain is through the branches of the basilar artery, mainly supplied by the branches of the basilar artery. These are the posterior cerebral artery and the superior cerebellar arteries, and some direct branches from the basilar artery. Now, branches are also received from the posterior inferior posterior communicating arteries. Here you can see the posterior communicating artery. So some branches also goes to and supply the midbrain. Branches arising from these vessels may either be paramedian. Here you can see the paramedian branches which supply the parts near the midline, or the circumferential branches which wind round the midbrain to supply the lateral and dorsal parts. One of the lateral arteries is called the quadrigeminal artery. It is the main source of the blood supply to the colliculus. So this is the quadrigeminal artery. These are the circumferential branches and these are the paramedian branches supplying the midbrain, areas of midbrain. Vascular lesions in the midbrain. Number one is the Weber syndrome. It is commonly produced by the occlusion of branch of the posterior cerebral artery that supplies the midbrain. Results in necrosis of the brain tissue involving the oculomotor nerve and crus cerebri. So you can see here the oculomotor nerve is involved and the crus cerebri, fibers passing through the crus cerebri, they are involved. So there is ipsilateral ophthalmoplegia. Ophthalmoplegia means paralysis of the weakness of the eyeball movement, and contralateral paralysis of the lower part of the face, the tongue, and the arm and the leg. The eyeball is deviated laterally because of paralysis of medial rectus muscle, and there is drooping of the upper eyelid known as ptosis, and the pupil is dilated and fixed to light and accommodation. So the second type of vascular lesion is the Benedict syndrome, which affects the midbrain. It is similar to Weber syndrome, but necrosis involves the medial lemniscus and the red nucleus. So producing contralateral hemianesthesia and involuntary movements of the limbs of opposite side. So also the here also the branches of the posterior cerebral artery are affected.